so much for tuning in. My name is Amudu Salongo Jean, and this podcast is talking about refugee and forced migration. Last time we were discussing a few things. It was around refugee and forced migration, and there I had a few terminologies we discussed about, and we had it hard to determine the thin line between forced migration and voluntary migration. However, it was so important that we discussed them, and we had a few views from different people. And if you didn't listen to this, you can go back and listen to it. Now today we have come again with something new, still on refugee and forced migration. We are going to discuss about the settlements of refugees in urban settings. This time we're talking about Kampala. We are going to see when this started and how it came about, and how the benefits and the disadvantages of this being set. Kampala accepting refugees to live in. How has it been beneficial, or what are the consequences? We will see at the end if it is possible to have refugees in Kampala after some time, maybe after 5 years, taking into consideration the experiences we have discussed. And here we have still our panelists. They are all members of Rendezvous Youth Group. They are nationals and refugees. We know that Uganda has been praised hosting a big number of refugees. It's the biggest in Africa. The number being now 1,529,272 as per the 30th of June 2022 on the UNHCR website, and of course confirmed by the Office of the Prime Minister. From all these numbers, they are scattered around the country. In Ajumani, in Yumbe, in Madiokolo, in Terego, we have Isingiro, we have Obongi, we have Chikube, we have Kampala, we have Chegegwa, we have Kamwenge, we have Kiriandongo, Lamo, and Koboko. But now we are going to put our special focus on Kampala, which is hosting 119,249 refugees. Now here we have this population in Kampala, and we are wondering who knows when refugees started living in Kampala. Kampala.
When the urban refugees were.
Who can have an idea, maybe? The microphone is yours here. You need to.
Don't know.
Also don't know. So it is now visible that all of us don't know when Kampala was established as a settlement for refugees, because that means we are talking about urban refugees, okay? Because refugees, yes, it is a settlement. A settlement is where refugees can live, but they don't have boundaries restrictions. It's different from a camp. Now, Kampala is known also as a settlement, but it's called an urban settlement. As Nakivale, Arua, those people who live outside the camp, even Gulu. So now, Kampala, we don't know when it started, but who were involved in setting Kampala to be
A settler.
Who are involved? Like, if we would think, who are those people who are involved in advocating for
UNHCR,
refugees? UNHCR.
Of course,
Policymakers. That's OPM. UNHCR.
The refugees themselves.
Refugees themselves. That means advocates. Human rights activists. Who else? NRM. Was NRM there? Because I remember by that time, those are those years when the.
Firstly, when we get there, when urban refugees came about, now we can tell whether it was NRM or UPC.
Because we.
Based on the refugee policy that it's the one that even allows
of self-reliance. But we know that refugees were moving freely. Even some refugees were in the army even. I think it was even more better.
Find you out because there are some stories that before explain a lot of stuff if they find you
outside the camp. So they were having refugee camps. So does this mean we should go and do some research about it?
So you don't know?
I don't know.
I thought you did.
No, I don't know. So we need, this is, so all of us are going to do some research about it. Let's consult anyone we think that can have that information. Let's consult any book we think can have such information. Let's understand first, when we are having refugees in Kampala, how did it come about? When did it come about? This will help us. And then maybe let's try to understand, why was it established?
Why was UNHCR?
Why was Kampala
established?
Accepted to be a place where refugees also can be? Do we have some reasons maybe?
I think based on this policy of allowing, letting refugees be in settlements instead of camps, there was no way you were going to say Kampala it's an exception, because even the Nakibari we are talking about, the Kirandongos, refugees do stay with the hosts over there. So even here in Kampala, I think it's that reason of saying let us give them the freedom of moving freely wherever, like where you want to if you want to study anywhere, go and study from there.
It was also influenced by the freedom of expression, right? Freedom of movement. Yeah, freedom of movement, and also there is a way, like here in Uganda, refugees and national, almost 100%, like 95%, what refugee is entitled to is the same as national, except owning land and participating in political arena of Uganda.
That is one of the causes why they were allowed to stay in Kampala.
Exactly, because if you can allow maybe someone from Busoga to come here to Kampala, and then you are saying a refugee should live the same way national. So even the refugee who was in Changwali, you allow him to also come to Kampala to work. If you say that there is no need of work permit, so I'm free to work wherever that I can get an opportunity.
Does anyone think otherwise? Maybe more addition?
Yeah, I'm giving probably a thought of reason as to why urban settlement was brought about. I think it was also to beat off some responsibility pressure from the government. You take too much responsibility I think it's like taking on another government's responsibility onto yours. We know that African governments are not fully self-sustaining. So just imagine this other lot from a different government, all right? Yes. And I'm very certain in most cases, these people are probably planned for by their governments, but just because of these insecurity instances, they get out to get into other countries. So I think even these host governments try to beat off this responsibility pressure, okay? Then they say, you know what, you people, you are old enough, you can go out there and take now responsibility of yourself, because in a camp, the host government is fully responsible. They give them food, they give them security and and all. So, but when you're an urban settler, you in most cases have to fend for yourself. You survive on your own, right? But in a camp, it is the government that takes fully responsibility on you. So when they beat off a certain number from the camp, it beats off that responsibility from them. And also because these camp facilities are not in plenty or are not enough, so and these refugees keep coming, so they always have to create room for other refugees that come, and these that probably have overstayed or wish to go and look for an opportunity outside may set out, and then they create room for others.
And also I think, I'm sorry, I'll just read something here, and I remembered that once Council Gabriel talked about it, but here they didn't specify the period. Like when you were asking when was the first time that Kampala received refugees, even here they wrote the British government had used Uganda to host 7,000 Polish refugees from Poland during Second World War. I read this and during Second World War, I don't remember the exact.
Because that's time. Before water, right?
Yeah.
The British colony.
Yeah, when in 1940s. So he told us they were in Mukono. I don't remember, but yeah, just remember that. That's the first time when actually Uganda as a country received those refugees, 7,000 from Poland.
Were they in Aban or they were in camps?
No, they were here in Kampala.
Okay. You can go on.
Okay, go on.
Just
anyone else with an idea?
No, just imagine a European country, of course, sending you their nationals. I'm very certain at that time they wouldn't call them refugees. I'm very certain they would call them their nationals, and then you put them in a confined camp. Just imagine how a European would feel, putting them in that confined camp.
You're saying Africans are not.
No.
You are a disgrace to Pan-Africanism.
Shalom. Next time come with the camera because we want to see this movie.
No, you see, I'm just a realist. So
when it comes to European side, you are a realist.
But when it comes to
I don't know, you become a social scientist. But they were refugees because actually these were British refugees. You see what they are doing now to Rwanda. That's what they did at that time.
In colonial times, they came as refugees. First when they came as colonialists.
No.
They came as colonialists because during that time we were under the colonization. So just imagine putting them under refugee status and putting them in the camp. They are 7,000. That was a big number by then.
Big number, yeah.
By then we were 14 million, or even less.
So they say from 1942 to 1950, nearly 20,000 Poles found refuge from the horrors of war-torn Europe in camps within Britain's African colonies, including Uganda, Tanganyika, which is now Tanzania, Kenya, and northern and southern Rhodesia.
When was that?
From 1942 to 1950.
Let's understand if there is any turning point that we have seen as a result of refugees being in Kampala.
From one side, there is more of peaceful coexistence between the hosts, which are Ugandans, and refugees. And that's one. Like now, the people who are hosting refugees, they understand them. I mean, day to day, there is that kind of improvement of understanding of who are these people because they live together. That's a great stuff, though there is still a room for improvement. That's one. And also now, second one, this is a point whereby most people tend to not to look at because maybe you are going to be termed as someone who is not, who doesn't have hospitality. I remember I was once in was it a workshop or meeting? I don't remember. And I was with this guy from ministry, and I think we were in lunch break having our meal, discussing how Uganda is a very good country that accommodates everyone, blah, 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 blah. And then I asked him, but then, anyway, that's good that you guys are accommodative, but don't you think that with time, you are going to lose your identity as a country because you are accommodating everyone? They bring their own cultures, like the way they behave, their languages, and then with time that you're going to lose your identity as a country. At the beginning, he tried to show me that no, that's not the case, but later on he agreed that with time, people are going to lose their identity, which is much about culture. Like if you take an example here in Kampala, because there are a lot of people, different tribes, everyone brings his own culture. The people, the Baganda, who are here, like you can't know who is a Muganda, who is not, you know.
Actually, we know Uganda more than Baganda. Correcting them.
You see, that's the thing, you know. Anyway, when you compare now to other parts of Buganda, though even there are some other people, but it's kind of different. But then when you compare, maybe you go to Karamoja, you will find that these people still hold their identity, and it's a problem if people don't have their identity, and it will be very hard for them to develop. You can't. Was it a book? I don't remember. Someone said, no, it's not a book. Someone said, you can't develop using. No, a country cannot develop using another country's language. So, like, even when you see these Asian countries that are developing now, their development is based or is founded on their identity. Chinese, they are going to develop, but still the culture or the identity of their country will still remain there. So I think those are the two things, like the mixture of cultures and also trying to understand people. So that's what I can say.
Also to give a supplement on that, now them living under that status, I think the government lessened on the burden of providing for them, because if they are left to move freely and to actually do what they want to do within a particular area, then the government, like, they don't dwell much on the government in terms of providing for them. Yes, they actually listened on the budget. And maybe to add on that, what he was actually saying, that at some point of time Uganda may lose its identity as Uganda. Yes, it can, because as they leave, they will of course have to intermarry.
Okay, let me add something small. From the argument, I think you're going to pick it up from there. From his argument, it was like, in the future, Uganda is going to be like USA. You see, USA have different people from different... Eh? Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. USA have different people from different... So don't you think, like, because you're gonna have different people from different corners of the world, different experiences, they are going to have it as an interest or benefit, you know? Because like here, if we are able to bring our differences in terms of, like, because for him it was like, the problem is that we try to create a problem in our differences instead of using them for us to develop.
But of course, I maybe to look at the positive bit of it, as maybe as the country allow them to interact and to freely move, that also brings maybe some good relationship with Uganda and those other countries. The mere fact that they have actually hosted some people and they've accepted them to live freely in their country, so it also creates some other good relationship between Uganda and those other particular countries where actually these other refugees are coming from, regardless of the people are seeking refuge and all that. At some point of time, they'll have to sit on the round table and then they discuss some issues which they will actually, it will work in the benefit of the other or in the benefit of both of them.
It has created harmony between, different cultures and different nationalities, because we have Congolese, Rwandese, what. So you find that all these people are in one place, and you're learning and getting to know about these different cultures. But also, I was talking to a friend some days back, and this guy was telling me, you see, when refugees were not yet here, houses were cheap.
It's like, so when you guys came in, these Somalis, what? So you realize that, prices are going high, even on food, what?
Does it mean the refugees actually are also a source of income to nationals? Because if a refugee is paying expensive for rent, that means already it's a Ugandan earning.
Yeah.
What about if we see it in that
The source of income, do they exploiting them at some point in time?
Okay.
Now you see, mostly Ugandan think that since Congo we have gold, automatically every Congolese is rich. So they are doing a disadvantage to their own members, whereby they don't have that money really to pay that amount of money, like for rent 1 million, what. So they're increasing prices just because of the people who are coming in, who they suppose that they are rich, you get.
But
Yeah, so that's also a negative one.
for me, I don't think it's a problem of people, it's a problem of system. This is a capitalist country, so
Yeah, so you find that it affects the other side, because as you are saying, not like, I know it's not the relationship, the nation, because you find that this person cannot get this house because the owner of the house has a specific target, which is the foreigners. You find that I was reading something here, and they say that you find that Somalis are basically in Gisenyi, where, because that's where they are, and people who are renting houses in Gisenyi, they have a specific price because their target is. But also looking at when it comes to job opportunities, of course some organizations are trying really to understand that refugees can also do as any other person, but personally I feel like there is people need to improve on this, because you find that some organizations do not employ refugees, and you ask yourself why. And I've had conversation with even people who are in UNHCR, and some of them tell you, I don't.
something small. He was saying that these people with houses, they are targeting Somalis. I don't think they are targeting any nationality. They are targeting people who can afford that amount of money. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same. The other stuff that you say. It's the same narrative that you say, this hotel is for Bazungu. No, it's not for Bazungu, it's for someone who can afford it.
So, business people have a lot, they do their thing with a target. So, I'm selling my stuff at a target, I'm targeting this.
So if I go with my money, that is requested.
Even him as a videographer, he doesn't go to every ceremony. As long as you can afford, he has his target.
In 2014, we've just seen that we're 1 million in Kampala, right? But right now we are 3 million. So I'm very certain there is a quite there is quite a significant effect of that change that is attributed to refugees, okay, to urban refugees, and I cannot discredit the effect of a big population on an economic. On the economic impact of a certain setting, right? But then the negative is identity, right? I don't want to call it culture, let me call it identity, right? All of you have at least cited a problem, right? He has cited losing culture, he has cited exploitation, right? I think all this exploitation is due to a certain identity. If at all people identify you as a refugee, there are some services that you're going to be deprived of. All right, and it is going to be intentionally. They're going to intentionally deprive you of a certain service because you are a refugee. Right? Now that is, refugee is also culture. Being a refugee is also culture. For you may think that being a Munyankore, being what is the only culture. No. In fact, refugees also have a culture. Now for instance, and what is culture? Culture is way of life, right? Refugees have a certain way of life. Identity, I think, has caused some deprivation. For instance, tribalism, gender discrimination, generational discrimination, race, all right? Nepotism, right? All these kinds of discrimination are on the line of identity, right? A Somali cannot marry a Ugandan, right?
They do. Somalis are marrying Karamoja. So much.
We want proof.
We have them even in Busia. We have them in Fort Porto. They have married Batoro.
So I think that is I think that is depriving Ugandan of potential of love, belonging, and because anyways, no. So if at all a female, if at all a Somali cannot like me because probably I'm not. Yes. No, depriving me of potential love. Depriving me of potential love. Okay, belonging. Right. So if at all I really want this Somali, right? But then they, however much they want me as well, they cannot cross a certain, right? They cannot cross a certain line because of the identity that we do not share, right? I do not share identity as a Somali. I am Ugandan and she's Somali, and according to their identity, they are not supposed to cross, to cross, I don't know, it's not even race, I don't know why, to cross culture, all right? Because a Somali is black, so I don't know what that...
But I think that will come as an advantage, because now they are allowed to move freely, they are allowed to interact.
So
and so because of that,
even Uganda allows intermarriage.
Yes, and so that is how the relationship grows, and so they are married. There's some of deprivation is...
It's not there.
It is there. It is. What?
It's not someone's right. So I don't think there is anything to do.
No. I think with deprivation, you're not supposed to have a right.
And some of these are married. Go to Moyenga. Some of these are married. Ugandans, like.
But they don't come
maybe it can be marriage of contract. We never know. So.
No, they marry, but they don't come to Kisenyi because.
We don't know.
No. It's not bias. It's not bias. It's yes.
Of course, previously, since they were not allowed, or they were put in camp, something of that kind, so they were not allowed to interact. So that is when the identity would actually come into play. Now that they are allowed to move freely, and so they can go to the same schools with the rest of the nationals. So now this is where we find the relationship. Of course, by the time you come in and you're isolated, don't you ever think that when even home, they will still carry you? Like, imagine you're not allowed to interact with the rest of the nationals in a particular country. You don't expect them, at some point of time, they will also get that other mentality that we're not supposed to cross. But the mere fact that they've allowed them to freely interact. And so this is how the different relationships are being built up. So at some point of time, even if they cannot carry this particular Ugandan to take them to the Somaliland, yes, to show them that we are officially married, at some point of time, maybe in a future time to come, because of this relationship, now that they've accepted them to move freely and do whatever they want in a particular country, this is how we are seeing the two countries bonding. And so they will be allowed to officially take them. But we have seen them cohabiting, we have seen them having kids.
Children.
Yes, you find a Somali with a gun and having around.
You see, okay. Truth is, he has said he has never seen one. She has said she has never seen. I've never seen one. He has never seen one.
I've seen many.
This one has seen. You have seen. I want to ask, have you seen a Somali marrying a non-Somali?
But refugee.
Me, I want to be specific. Okay. Have you ever Somali? Yeah. So, out of this group now, this is the first survey now.
Yeah, it must be. You must be right on your point because there is what we call that culture and exclusivity. There are cultures that are exclusive and cultures that are inclusive, and then there are cultures that are interconnected. You find a Mutoro and a Munyankore may be more related than a Mutoro and a Karamajon.
I get.
A Karamajon may be connected maybe to someone of the other side of Kenya. You understand? So those cultures can be connected. So the truth is now, now the society creates a hoof around those people. In the fact that when this one is done, it's not known. Like their culture doesn't allow a girl to give birth when she's still at home. So when she gives birth, it is only her and her mother who know. All of us don't know. But the fact is that she has not given birth from home. But we don't know. You understand?
Okay, all I'm saying is the African identity has some deprivation it comes along with, okay, right? That is what I'm trying to say, but the examples, we may clash at giving examples, but for instance, in an African setting, deprivation along tribal lines, along family lines, along what else? But there is that discrimination that comes with identity, right? So whenever we have this integration of maybe refugees and nationals, it grows from just a family discriminating another family to now discriminating nationals of another country, right? Just like at the beginning, he said that some people think that when you accord yourself that refugee status, then you are vulnerable, all right? There are some refugees who are well off, who are well educated than some nationals, but you're still going to have that discrimination tagged onto you because of a certain identity. That is what I'm trying to drive home, all right? Yes, but we may clash at examples, but all I'm saying is identity comes with discrimination. And if quite unrealistic now, if at all you had this one culture system, there wouldn't be those underlying lines of discrimination, all right? We need to educate ourselves on the benefits of integration, all right? What you know, somebody else could not know. And there is a way we can help each other to achieve at a certain shared goal, maybe, right? There are some refugees I've just stated who are more educated than even nationals, but you're going to find that because they are refugees and this one is a national, you favor it, and so they are going to offer an opportunity to a national even when they are not the fit for that opportunity, and against a refugee just because they are refugee, just because.
Personally, I've reached to a point where there are places where I go and I don't tell people that I'm a refugee, because I know if I tell them, there's a certain way on how they'll look at me which will be minimizing me. And the reason as why I do this is because I was attending a conference. I even went to a refugee law project with Mary, and so I introduced myself and I was like, yeah, my name is ABCD, I'm a refugee from Congo. And so there's a way people looked at me, and how they looked at me, people have different perception about refugees. Some people know that a refugee is this person who is a beggar, someone who can't do anything for themselves and all that. So I think that's how they looked at me, which really didn't make me feel good. And I was like, well, so if I'm attending something else, I'm not telling people that I'm a refugee unless someone knows that I'm a refugee.
But according to what we are seeing now, what is happening, the positives and the negatives, do we think this refugee thing is going to remain? Maybe let's say five years from now, are refugees going to be there?
I think refugees will still live in Kampala because they're intermarrying, they're doing things just like the host, because a refugee here has all the rights as the host except voting.
And the things that we've discussed about, I think refugees are going to be here, and the number actually is increasing every day. So because as she said, refugees are marrying Ugandans, and the children that are being produced, contributing to the number. So
Me, according to me and according to what we have discussed, I think we shall still have the refugees. Because now we are seeing different refugees acquiring different property within the country. So that also gives them that other maybe permanent, or how do they call it? Domicile, something of that kind, residence, yes. So it also gives them residence within the country. Maybe if what she has had is actually applied, maybe that will be limiting the new entries of the refugees, but then those that are within, they'll still be in, and so they'll also be counted as refugees. And then when you look at the different how should I call it, bureaucracy of how to actually lose that status of refugee, it's a long process. So you find that people who have even stayed longer, maybe even longer than that period where they're supposed to lose the status of refugees, they'll still have that other status of refugees because they have not gone through that particular process. So we shall still have them.
Okay. I think there are going to be many, unless we get another regime in this country which is against that. Because the one which is in power now, they are very okay with refugees, and they can even be very many because of various reasons. But now, I think, according to my own observation and prediction, they are actually going to be very many, because why do we have refugees anyways? Because the countries around this country have different wars and conflicts, and when you see the kind of tension now, there are going to be very many. Starting like in Congo, problems are very many. Ethiopia, they are just starting, though it's still something big, but when you see like the path they are taking is not for resolving it, actually it's going to be even more. Kenya, we hope the elections, is it this week or next week? I think it's in 2 weeks, in next week 8th, Sunday, they are going to have elections. Hopefully they learned their lesson. Yeah, hopefully they learned their lesson. And also South Sudan, that country also, it's a sister to Congo. Yeah, so when you see like the tensions around this country, wars are going to remain there. And also there is this thing, when you see geopolitical, the countries that cause wars in other countries come back and portray to be the ones that are helping refugees. So that's why refugees are not going to stop from coming into those countries that are called very accommodative to refugees. So I think unless there is change of regime in this country, which I'm not okay, I think refugees are going to be very many.
I think wars, like he has said, in Africa right now are very imminent. A very visionary, in quotes, a very visionary NRM government proposed to governments of a certain region of countries to put in place a certain committee that is going to help mitigate wars in the region. I think the region is Central and some part of West Africa, and that committee is headed by Wanamama Mbabazi. So I think according to their surveys, they feel that wars are imminent and they need to have these ways of how to mitigate and counter, So I think by the time that happens, of course, considering the fact that refugees are a result of these political altercations, so I think there are going to be very many. And for a government like Uganda that is so hospitable, and is not self-sustaining enough, it is going to have to relinquish a certain number of them to urban settlement, because they really can't get up to the task with keeping the responsibility up, having them well fed, well taken care of. That's if they're in the camps. So they will have to relinquish a certain number to get into urban centers to fend for themselves, right? Because the governments believe that in urban centers there is a pool of opportunity, right? So they think that refugees can be able to get a few of them and reduce on the responsibility pressure. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear listener. For this time you have set it to listen to our discussions as Rendezvous Youth Group members. We have been talking about refugees in Kampala, and at the end, I hope we have come to some conclusions. Don't wonder if we did not talk about something maybe you thought. You can place also your comment there below, and it will be part also for our discussions. It does not mean that everything we said there is correct or is false, but your opinion matters too. Don't hesitate also to follow us on all our social media handles on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, and SoundCloud. My name is Amudu Salongo Jean, and I've been your host. Rendezvous Youth Group is a youth group made of nationals and refugees in Kampala. Don't hesitate to follow also their social handles on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, SoundCloud. It is Rendezvous Youth Group. Their Twitter handle, it is at Rendezvous YG, and my Twitter handle, it is at Amudu Salongo. Thank you so much. Until we meet again next time. Ciao.